First we gotta, say hello.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Dirt Road Nation.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men. Gently tap it, because I don't want it to spray out everywhere. Firmly grasp it! Anyway, we're back for podcast episode number 2. It's always going to be one off, mostly to confuse Jake.
And it works every time.
So, we're back in this room because the acoustics in the other room just suck. So until we get a decent microphone, we're probably just going to keep hanging out in here. The only real reason that we wanted to go down there is those chairs are significantly more comfortable to sit in for a long form thing.
Yeah, I do, however, like being able to put my feet on the floor.
They are big chairs and he has short legs. He's taller than me and he looks significantly more so when we're sitting down than he actually is. But, he has a longer torso and short legs.
Yeah. I was still pretty damn quick back in the day.
Well, short legs, they don't have to move as far. You also have shorter thighs. Squats are easier for you. Anyway, so we've got some stories this week, as per friggin' usual. However, my main story I don't want to lead off with. And that's COVID related, stuff like that. I'm having an Oliva Serie V today, and then I'm going to have a dark truth with that and some wild turkey when I'm done while we go through this.
I'm not having a cigar right offhand, but I'm having the same beverages. So do you want me to start off with my first story?
Yeah.
So Jizzy Lane's trial started today.
Did you check the arguments?
Somewhat. I skimmed through them. The prosecution arguments was pretty much what she was indicted for. She played a very essential role in enticing and grooming
young women.
Yes. No. Children, not young women.
Alright, fair enough.
They were right at the teenage mark and younger for the most part. And then manipulating them into being somewhat mentally okay with them being sex slaves for Jeffrey Epstein and his friends and the higher up Hollywood and government officials and all that horse shit.
There's a 12 gauge and an AR right behind that camera if you just want.
I mean, man, if I could be her defense attorney. I'm making bank, trying to keep her ass out of jail. She's going to fucking jail.
What sucks is as much as you want to kill her, you need her alive because she has some of the information that Epstein should have had.
Yes, but say you're her defense attorney and you're trying, you actually look like you're trying to keep her out of prison.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, damn, that sucks that you couldn't. We're not going to kill you, though, because you tried.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could warp everything you're doing around to where it looks like you're trying to keep somebody out of, prison, but it's actually working in them going to prison favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're the guy that convinces her to take the plea deal to offer up all the names to get less time.
You could do that, or make her break on the stand under your questioning, or maybe you have some evidence. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna, try to bury that, and you're gonna shuffle that to do some dirty stuff, cheat the justice system like everybody else likes to. So.
Yeah, just cheat it not in favor of your client.
Yeah.
See, I figure you just get her to give up the plea deal to give up all the names, right? And then, tell her she'll only get, 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then just call Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after you have the names.
Yeah, you get all the names, you can get everybody else indicted, and then you'd be like, hey, here's her cell. I am, not only am I a defense attorney, I lost my job at that, so now I'm a prison guard.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I got all the names out there. Now I want this bitch to never see the light of day again. So, yeah, one can only hope it goes that well. I really thought a reckoning was coming when they caught Epstein. I just did not think that a case with that much attention could go the way it did, and then it did.
Yeah.
So, I'm not particularly hopeful that this goes off without a hitch.
The same basic group of people also killed a sitting president in his Lincoln. So.
Now we're making some big claims. I didn't know Lyndon Baines Johnson was still alive, let alone touching kids. Anyway.
No.
I'm fucking around.
Okay.
I understood your joke. I took it a different direction so that maybe the FBI watch list would have you lower on it.
Oh, okay.
You know, given their involvement in certain activities.
I mean, if you guys want to come suck some dick, it doesn't get touched enough. So.
Alright, sorry, go ahead.
The prosecution, I already talked about the prosecution, the defense, they're basically saying that Jizzy Lane is a scapegoat. Everything was on Epstein, but they couldn't get Epstein because he was murdered in his prison cell. So they're just going to put it on the next person possible.
Was she in his organization? Because if so, yeah, pretty much. That's fine with me.
I don't care.
Thank you for affirming what I already know. Have a good day.
But again, there was just opening statements today.
Go ahead.
At least from what I read on a couple articles, the real nitty-gritty shit's coming this week.
And we will hear about it from our very trusted mainstream media, which would never lie to us about anything near this important. Especially not like an election or anything like that. They would never lie to you about that. So I'm sure all the truth will come out.
Yeah. The truth. The dark truth.
Alright, that was corny as shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've been eating a lot of corn, so.
I've been trying to swear less. It doesn't seem to work when I'm in a room with you.
It doesn't.
Anyway, any more on that?
Nope, that's about where they're at on that. So.
Alright, I guess we'll hit the bigger story of this week. New COVID variant. Or more important than the new COVID variant, it's coming consequences, and it's already consequences. So, the Omicron variant has been found. One thing worth noting is that in the Greek alphabet, they skipped a couple of letters of note, but they had given them to other smaller variations that have popped up that weren't major threats. However, this one should have been Xi, XI, that Greek letter. But they skipped it. I don't know why.
What is that? GXI?
XI.
What is that? Xi?
That's Xi Jinping.
Oh.
The leader of China. Yeah.
Oh.
I was trying to be kind of side-eyed at that, but whatever, you commie bastards, come get us.
Hey, I don't think you can use the word side-eye when referring to Chinese people.
Hey, I dated an Asian chick. She said that I could be her widescreen and she could be my color. No joke. Legit happened. That was probably the best part about dating her. Mostly because we went on, like, not even a full date. So,
Fair enough.
We talked for a couple of weeks. Anyway, many countries, including us, have already banned travel through much of Africa, where the variant was discovered.
Okay.
Making Biden a victim of his own rhetoric, because when Trump did this with China, he insisted that Trump, hey man, could you lick your balls a little less hard? Sorry. Anyway.
If I could reach it, I probably wouldn't.
He claimed Trump was xenophobic for banning travel from China when this whole thing started. And now he's doing the same thing with Africa, which actually is probably an intelligent thing to do. I just think it's funny to watch him fall on his own sword and to watch some leftists get mad at him.
Yeah.
Usually when they do hypocrisies, everybody just ignores it, so it's funny to watch him get impaled on his own sword.
You would think that they might be kind of torn about it, though. Because they all hate the rich. The richest man in the world is an African. Now he can't go home, see his mom. They'd be like, well, that's stupid because that's racist.
I don't think they could stop him. He'd probably just launch himself into space and land there.
Fine, fuck you, I'm going to Mars now. Mom, go to the basement of the old house and type in 32495.
He's the richest man in the world and has a successful space program. I bet he could get to South Africa if he wanted to. This, of course, has brought up tons of talk of lockdowns and such. Many nations are now no longer considering you fully vaccinated if you don't have the booster. In fact, in Australia, probably the leading example of tyranny in all of this, your COVID passport that you need to literally leave your home it will invalidate itself if it's been 6 months since you had the vaccine and you have to get a booster. So, yeah. Some U.S. companies are already implementing similar policy as well.
We got a letter in the mail the other day talking about how we were eligible to get the booster. Because I am fully vaccinated.
I'm not. Fuck y'all.
Twice vaxxed.
Never mind, I'm gonna leave that alone.
The biggest side effect for me, though, was like one of my testicles just fucking vanished.
Just fucking like that dude with Tourette's. Second COVID shot, right?
Oh, that would be funny.
Yeah.
Going to get like a
talk loud enough so that they can hear you. Don't just say it to me. You're on camera.
Going to get a physical. Like, I got my my second COVID shot a couple of months ago, whatever, and then my testicle's gone. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what, can you find it? It no shit disappeared, sir.
If your doctor's too inept to find that scar, fire them.
I'm kind of a hairy guy.
Fair enough. I haven't seen it, so... Don't. You leaned back. I thought you were going to stand up.
If I were to show you, you wouldn't see anything.
I know.
Okay.
We've had the discussion before.
Okay.
I just never actually saw it. Because I'm not one of those weird guys like the ones that would come up to you in high school and be like, can I see it? I just waited until you and your wife got together and then asked her if it dropped center. And for whatever reason, she was really offended by that. I just needed to know.
I guess the first time she saw it was summer, so yeah.
Anyway, so meanwhile, while all this talk's going on, the stock market, due to this same scare, crashes like 3+% in a single day on Black Friday. And it was only a half day, as it was. But yeah, it took a massive, massive hit on a day that it should have gone up because it's the biggest shopping day of the year. And crypto also took a dump, same time. More money was cashed out of crypto than I think at any other point this year, including the May crash. I didn't look that up to confirm, so I'm speculating on that one. I can't remember. Now, the South African doctors, the ones that the one that every article I found on MSNBC, CNN, all of them talked about was one doctor. I guess this is the only doctor talking about what's going on in South Africa, where we're getting all of our information about this virus from. But they're saying it's really not a big deal. It primarily targets people under the age of 40, ironically. So this is a younger demographic that it's going after, who tend to be healthier than its regular demographic because they're just older and you develop health problems as you age. And it's got more mild symptoms, and the doctor even said that no one that she's had to treat with the new variant even had to be put on oxygen.
Wow.
However, that's not to say that necessarily nobody died that had the variant. There were a couple of deaths that had an unusually high fever and were young that has come to be associated with this that might have been this. So, but it was the fever. Literally, their fever got so high to kill them, as if you don't know, if your body temperature gets too high, it can just kill you.
Literally boil your brain inside your skull.
Yeah. Which can happen with the common cold.
Yeah.
It can happen with the flu. Fevers do that. So, in fact, you can get a fever that high from a jacked up tooth.
Or drinking unpasteurized milk.
Yeah. So, in other words, the only people that have actually interacted with this so far say it's significantly more mild, which is also in line with our general theory on viruses over time. What they do is they mutate so that they become more transmissible but less severe so that they can survive. Because we attack the severe ones. So, in other words, right on cue, it's kind of petering down, and people are acting like it's going to get really bad. Meanwhile, cases and deaths continue in steady decline. So, if more tyrannical measures come out of this, and I'm sure they will, just know that even the doctors that have confronted it so far think it's completely bullshit for that to happen. But it has already upset our economy. In a year with record inflation, we just had a major market dump. So, not good signs economically for our future.
Wasn't like the first, Black Friday?
Yeah, the original Black Friday was the market crash of 28 or 29 that started the Great Depression. Yep.
So, yay for that. One thing I will add to what you're talking about with this new variant is they also just passed, I don't know if it's a new vaccine or they got enough information where they could vaccinate children as young as 5.
Oh yeah, don't think it's lost on me the convenience of a variant that supposedly targets younger people just as younger people become eligible for the vaccine.
Yeah. I just thought that would be something to point out.
But that might imply a plandemic, and that upsets YouTube.
Oh. So. Well, that's probably not what's going on.
Yeah. There's no plandemic, and we just had the freest, fairest election in the history of the U.S. My only question with that is if it was so free and fair, and obviously the most secure election in U.S. history, which one was the least?
The first.
I like to ask that because it's like, really? What makes you say that?
Yeah.
And most of the time when I ask that question, people don't have a good answer. Anyway, I don't want to talk about COVID too long. I know that this is kind of a news podcast, and we go through these things, but I just wanted to, let you guys hear about the new news and what's happening from it and what we think is likely to come from it.
So when you say you don't want to talk about it too long, would you rather talk about something else and then kind of loop back around, circle back?
No, that's all I had on it. If you have more on the subject, you should probably add it now.
Australia. We talked about Australia is doing forced COVID camps.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I had that one in your stories, didn't I?
Yep. So they set their army in to forcibly move COVID positive people into quarantine camps.
Yep.
And from what we've seen over the last, it's been 2 years already?
Almost.
Almost 2 years. these tests that they give aren't accurate. They'll throw out false positives all the time. Like I saw one study where they took like 1,000 tests, opened them up, and shoved them in whatever they do to test them with, or whatever chemical, and they all, like, most of them came back as positive, and they hadn't been exposed to anything other than the air just going from the packaging into the test thing. Solution.
Yep, the package that I had for the tests that myself and my kids had to take just yesterday, literally talked about, like, if this thing isn't set on a level surface, you could get a false positive or a false negative.
Huh.
So, like, literally just not being careful enough with the test can do this. It's really not an exact science. So, most sciences aren't, but, you know, people want to act like they're so exact that we can dictate the actions of everyone's life. Like
Australia's government.
Yeah.
More on Australia, not necessarily on the camps, but I saw an ad. It was somebody pleading, like an Australian group pleading for help. Because if you're not vaccinated, if you're not willing to get the vaccine, you can't go to work. If your kids aren't vaccinated, they can't go to school. If you try to peacefully protest, like just Martin Luther King out there with a sign, protest against something you think is horseshit, they send in the police and military whenever they're using, and they aren't using rubber bullets.
Really?
They were just straight up bullets, shooting people in the back as they were running away.
How's that giving up your guns thing looking now?
And then their mainstream media outlets are not wanting people to compare what the Australian government is doing to Adolf Hitler's reign of power.
Even though that's, like...
exactly what's going on? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Some could argue worse. Some could argue not worse. I guess at least this time the tyranny's not racist.
Yeah?
Does that make you feel better? Does it feel good now? Can you pat yourself on the back? It's super dumb. That was sarcasm if you didn't gather. It's a tyrant's a tyrant.
One thing, though, that a lot of people seem to kind of get wrong with Hitler, at least, is every step of the way, people were asking for what he was saying up until like the very end where he completely took over and started the...
Yep. So. Also, they advanced much slower in their march for power. The Nazis took like 20 years to really come into their own.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are doing it in 2. So, it's brutal. Yeah, to be honest. I got jokes, but as you can tell, I'm not even laughing because I feel bad that this kind of stuff is happening to people. It's really absurd. And what makes me sadder is I saw a TikTok about a guy talking about how tyrannical the Australian government was being as a citizen of Australia.
Uh-huh.
And all of his comments on that TikTok that I stumbled on were other Australians shitting on him for not going along.
Wow. It
was other Australians attacking him, not standing with him. His neighbors are for his torment. It's a 2,000-page book, and it's one of the most brutal books I've ever read. But I cannot recommend enough that more people read the Gulag Archipelago. This is exactly what he talked about in that book. The enemy was the people. The people became the enemy in the Gulag Archipelago. His general argument, if I were to sum up the 2,100-page scream that is the Gulag Archipelago, it is that his country turned away from God, and God was replaced by the government, and it corrupted its people into killing each other. So there's that shtick from me.
Yeah, eventually the people did get... I don't know what's going on in Russia. It seems like the people would have gotten sick of it, right? And ended up...
the Iron Curtain did fall eventually, so... in some manners, you could argue that Russia's doing a little better than us for the people of Russia. But I would not rather live in Russia, for example, even if I were born there. Yeah, it's a brutal deal there in Australia. I will say that the camps, one thing I did find out that you didn't mention, is that the forced camps is actually 2 of the northern territories. It's not the entire country.
Oh, okay.
Some of the provinces, I guess, I think they have there. I don't think they do states. Are more, I would say more liberal, but technically more conservative in that they're not doing this. So, however, they are still doing other stuff like COVID passports and stuff in all of Australia, so slightly less tyrannical doesn't really ring proudly to me. I think the biggest reason that this irritates me is when I think of Australia, I think of guys like basically cowboys.
Yeah.
Rugged individualism. A lot of what I think of the old American West is what I think of in Australia. And I don't think of that now, because it's not what's happening. And it is sad. And they're I believe it was one of the governors, or whatever you would call them, leaders of the province, came out and said, even regardless of your vaccination status, if you are against the mandate, you are anti-vax. Which I also thought was interesting. So you're not even free to think what you want in their country now.
You talking about the cowboyism kind of thing?
Yeah.
Stuff.
Crocodile Dundee, for example.
That's exactly what I was going to refer to. So I watched a video where a guy actually explained the real Crocodile Dundee.
Mm-hmm.
And how what they portray in the movie was only... It was like a loose characteristics of him, but his rise to badassery, like everything that was cool about him. But his downfall was fucking hard.
Oh, yeah?
He got... he was out on a boat. It was him and a couple of puppies, which is super cool. Something happened. He got caught up in a big storm. And he ended up on like a little life raft. Ended up paddling back to safety for like a few days. Even like catching fish and drinking their blood, and then like once he got back to land, like he didn't have to travel until he found people, and like just killing anything food, like animal wise, that he could kill to feed him and his 2 little pups, and then oftentimes again drinking their blood for water until he found a Aboriginal tribe, and they kind of helped nurse him back to health. And then he ended up getting into like hard drugs in the 90s and maybe the 80s, and he ended up zooted out of his mind. Driving along a road, and the police had a roadblock. They were looking for somebody, but he was, higher in hell and thought they were looking for him. Ended up having a standoff with the police, killed at least one of them, and ended up getting killed himself.
Yeah.
And then, like a few months after that, they released the 3rd Crocodile Dundee movie. The last one.
Wow.
So
this was the actor that played him?
No, this was the guy
that was based off of?
Yeah.
Man. That's intense.
Yeah.
Alright. Did you have anything else with that Australia story?
I did not.
Okay, so let's move to a story that's been making the rounds. It's kind of near and dear to me. That I don't like anybody in this story. Everybody's screwed up.
Yeah.
Everybody's continuing to screw up. I pretty much wish all of the adults had somehow been killed in like a random drive-by as this happened. If it had to happen.
Yeah.
So, the Texas custody shootout. This whole thing is absurd. Did you get to hear something about this?
I did.
So, this guy goes to pick up his kid. This guy has gotten divorced. He has remarried. Kids have a stepmom. His ex-wife is living with a married man. Just to add to the white trash web that I'm gonna knit for you here. He shows up to pick up his kid, and his kid's evidently not there. And of course, his kid's mom hadn't told him anything about that and has been jacking him around. They've obviously had custody disputes before. And things are just not going well, and I understand that. I had 2 kids with 2 women, and that was before I was 20, and there were custody issues. I get it. So, please understand, if you're watching this and you're like a dad that has custody problems or a baby mama that you have problems with, I've done the dance. I promise you, I've done the dance. Probably near as bad as you have. And some of that, like this, was also my fault on occasion. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm totally blameless in everything. I definitely went off the chain a couple of times. Shit happens. Anyway, this guy goes to pick up his kid, finds out his kid's not there, starts raising hell because his kid's not there and he wants his kid. And the stepmom starts filming, and someone in the house starts filming as well. So we have this exchange from a couple different angles. And as the dude starts yelling at his ex-wife, and the stepmom's filming and kind of chiming in on the argument, the guy that she's dating goes in the house, comes out with a 9mm carbine, or what looks like a 9mm carbine. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it wasn't an AR.
It looked to me from the pictures, the still frames of the videos that I saw, it looked to me like a 12 gauge.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely not, because if you watch the video, you hear the shot.
Okay.
Because he fires a warning shot. We'll get there.
Okay.
No, the way this gun fires, it's some kind of carbine or something like that.
Okay.
And he gets in this guy's face, and they're 2 inches away, screaming at each other. He fires a warning shot, telling this guy to leave. Dude, right before he fires a warning shot, says, "Go ahead, I'll take that gun from you and kill your ass with it." That, sir, was where you crossed the line. And you lost my sympathy, because you've now made a threat to a man holding a gun on his own property in Texas.
Yeah.
The situation that they put this man in was awful. But he did not put his kid first either, or the moment that exchange escalated to that level, he would have left and dealt with it through legal means like the police, who he already knew were on the way. He literally could have just gone to his car and waited. And I have had to do that. I have had to have exchanges with police there or people there to supervise the exchange. It's been that bad. That's exactly what he should have done. But he didn't, and he grabs the guy's gun and throws him into the yard, but fails to take his gun from him, and then rushes him. And so the guy raises his gun and shoots this man in the chest. Multiple times, I believe twice. And then while he's laying there, bleeding out on the lawn, no one seems to react. And they start continuing their argument between the stepmom and the biological mom. Yo! I'm sorry.
We are in some real shit, Ace. Can you... Calm down.
And they just have an argument about why this shouldn't have happened while dude lays there and bleeds to death on the ground and succumbs to his injuries. So this kid now has an obviously problematic mother, had an obviously problematic father, who's now been shot by his maybe soon-to-be stepfather, who was married to another woman. And if anyone in this exchange, I guess you could say maybe not the stepmom because she was just filming. If the mom or the dad or the mom's boyfriend had bothered to put the kid first in this exchange, any single one of them, this would not have played out the way it did. That said, legally speaking, this is kind of a clear-cut self-defense case for the guy that shot. Morally speaking, I think he did something wrong. I think he's kind of a piece of crap. But I also 100% understand that the way the law is laid out, and honestly the way that I do think it should work, you cannot threaten a man on his own property and then attack him and not expect to eat bullets for it.
Yeah.
Even if the reason that you are doing so is, morally speaking, justified. Now, justified in physically attacking him? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
But the whole exchange is awful.
It sounded to me like biological dad was reasonable on coming up like, hey, I'm my fucking kid.
Initially he was, but then he escalated.
Yeah, and then he escalated, and then...
Once dude came out with the gun.
Okay, but to put yourself in the other position, you're with a woman, she has a kid, and then all you know, or all you recently know of this man, even if you throw everything she said aside, was dude comes up, kind of raising hell, and you're just like, hey, you know, until she says, yeah, you can have your kid, I'm not going to go and get him, you're not going inside my home, you're going to, stay out here until...
And everybody knew the police were coming also,
yeah.
So...
Until the police get here, and then they can figure all that out. And then dude gets a little bit rough to where you feel you need to go and get a firearm or go ahead and draw if you're carrying.
Mm-hmm. Don't fire warning shots. That is it.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice this, I don't like warning shots. If you're going to shoot, shoot. This dude was in a neighborhood.
Yeah, you don't have to flaunt your financial stability with warning shots.
Damn, I did not see that coming.
But, as far as the boyfriend goes, yeah, I do see where he would be in the wrong for, his actions. But I also can't say that I blame him because...
Exactly.
He's probably never met this man. And all he knows is whatever he's heard from
she'd been dating this guy long enough to live with him, so I assume they probably met before.
Okay. So maybe he knew that dude was a little bonkers and, guy's starting to get a little argumentative, like extra argumentative, and maybe seeming like he's going to get a little violent. Maybe he just went in and was like, look, go off, or I'm going to go off. Here, look, this thing is loaded. And yeah, that's probably not the best thing to do, but...
But I understand where you're coming from when someone's on your property and won't leave. And
yeah.
When they make a threat and then physically attack you and you shoot them, I don't necessarily feel like you're square in that specific instance, but everything that got you there, I have a moral conundrum with. Let's put it that way.
I agree with you there.
That's what irritates me about this whole case.
Yeah. Shit, it's gone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
You were stumbling for a second. Okay.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I stumble for words a lot. I'm what you call an idiot.
Yeah. I wasn't saying you had that.
No, I know. I know. But it's okay. We both know.
I hate this whole exchange. Initially, I hadn't seen a lot of places report this, and I wanted to report on it because these types of issues are kind of near and dear. Like, the problem with dating single moms, and I say this as a dude that's dated single moms and is a single dad and has created 2 single moms. I get it. The problem with dating single moms is it's almost never going to be good with the father to start with. It might work out over time, but that initial introductory stage is always going to be an issue. Like, even if the bio dad is super cool, it's going to be at minimum awkward because you're trying to step into what should be that father's role, but due to actions of that father and the mother, both most likely, it isn't. So it just creates an issue. And I say single moms specifically because moms, generally speaking, end up with custody of the kids. This does happen in the reverse in some occasions. I have a little bit of experience in that regard as well. But largely, the moms end up with the kids, and therefore the problem is created there. Not because of mom. You get what I'm saying. Follow me, don't misconstrue me into saying something I'm not. I know the internet loves to do that, but I'm trying to make a point there. The whole thing about raising kids in broken homes is just a problem. And I say that as a dude that is guilty of it, so, like, I get to cast the stone. Get off me.
Yeah. You've been on both sides of that, too.
Exactly. I've created that issue before. Genuinely, I've been the dick in that situation. But I've also been involved in situations that it was done to me. Mm-hmm. Things like this were done to me. I definitely had some issues right away with my son's stepfather. Awkward discussion to be having today, given some events that I can't really talk about. But nonetheless, early on, we had similar issues. So, obviously not anywhere near this extreme. But
fucking thankfully, goddamn.
Well, I would have just left in that scenario because I don't, just like I don't let my kids badmouth their moms, and I don't badmouth my kids' moms in front of them.
Yeah.
Because that's their parent, and regardless of how I personally feel about them, I made them a parent, and that child needs to respect them. So, I will draw the line even when I am flying off the handle. Of, like, when the scenario is going to escalate to a level like this, I would have backed away considerably before that.
For fucking sure.
Yeah.
I did remember what else I was going to add to.
Okay, go ahead.
The one thing I will say about all the people in this situation would be the potential future stepdad. I would hold him, I'm going to say this like very loosely, least accountable.
Uh-huh.
Because, again, like, he was just, like, they were at his home, his property, and then...
If you watch the video and you watch the exchange, he was also being a jerk before he went and got the gun.
Gotcha.
But, yes, I agree with the point you're leading towards here.
Somebody comes up to my house, coming up with, whether it's reasonable anger or justifiable anger or whatnot. It's like, if you're coming up and talking to me, take a second, calm the fuck down. We can talk about it as adults. Maybe we can help each other out.
Well, and honestly, it all often works out that way, to where it's actually more civil between the step-parent and Levi up here.
And then, maybe the stepdad could have helped out and been like, look, yeah, we'll get this straightened out at your weekend. I didn't quite realize it, or it slipped my mind.
Yeah, this definitely wasn't that kind of exchange.
But like, if you come up to a situation where, like, you're going to pick up your kid, and mm-hmm. you can keep your head level you can keep everything under your top without blowing it, you're more likely to get what you're after.
And at minimum, you don't end up lying dead on the lawn.
But like if you roll up to somebody's house, and no matter what your disposition towards them would be, and you're coming at them like an asshole, you might wind up lying dead on their front lawn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, me personally, my personal take on this is
everybody was shit.
I wish this dude would have shot after shooting the dad. Once that line was crossed, shoot the mom, shoot the stepmom, shoot yourself. It's just everybody.
You're all shit. Where is Grandpa?
Yeah, because here's the closing part of this story.
Mm-hmm.
The stepmom has filed for custody of the child because the child is living in the home of the man that murdered his father or killed his father. Didn't murder him by legal standards or even probably by biblical standards. So, yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't see how a step-parent gets custody of a kid when a biological parent is still alive unless that biological parent has like a severe drug issue or something. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kid got screwed. Every which way from Sunday.
For sure.
Because imagine that now. Let's say his mom marries this guy. Now he's got to grow up with not only not his real father, but the man that murdered or that shot his father, that killed his father.
Excuse me.
I'm sure that'll pan out later.
Yeah.
And look, I'm trying to stress this point so that you guys really understand that I understand what I'm talking about. I've been the dude that has rolled up to the house in a way that he should not have. That he had no business acting on someone else's property except that his kid was in there and he wanted to see his kid. I've literally done that. So... And I knew full well in doing that I might go to prison or die that day. And that would have been 100% my fault.
Yeah.
So, at least that's how I take it. I have a very extreme ownership view of my life. I think everything's my fault. So, and everything's my fault. Everything that happens to me is my fault.
Living.
Living is also me still living is also my fault. Partially your fault. As well.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I did that.
That's my fault.
Fuck you. That's all I have on that story.
Well, in the we were kind of keeping themes here, because the next, and I think this is our last thing we have to talk about.
There's a reason I put them in this order.
Amaud Arbery. The verdict on that trial came in the other day. Amaud Arbery, we'll start out with him. He was jogging, is what they were saying. I don't know what he was doing.
He was jogging in jeans and Timberland boots. 12 miles from his home.
On that, I will say...
It's not impossible.
I have personally jogged around the city of Eudora, Kansas in combat boots and Carhartt coveralls. Because it was cold, and I was just kind of stressed and wanted to go for a jog. And so I just, spur of the moment, went for a jog. So on that, I will keep an open mind on whether he was jogging or he was up to no good, whatever. So he was out jogging, and then he was chased, and then shot by 3 guys. I don't know if all...
There was one guy shot him.
Okay.
There was an exchange where, like, they tried to perform a citizen's arrest. He tried to evade the citizen's arrest. He grabbed for their gun and they shot him.
Very fucking fatal flaw on his part. So the 3 men, there was Travis Michael. He was the one who actually shot Arbery. He got charged with 9 different things. Well, 9 counts of difference.
9 different counts pertaining to this murder.
I guess. I keep saying different, but 4 of them were the same.
Mm-hmm.
Malice murder. 4 counts of felony murder. 2 counts of aggravated assault. 1 count of false imprisonment. And 1 count of criminal attempt to commit a felony. I don't know how you get somebody... How you convict somebody of an attempt to commit a criminal felony if you've already convicted them of committing a criminal felony, and that seems kind of redundant. A criminal felony, if you're committing a felony, yeah, you're a criminal. The false imprisonment, I guess, like if you're found guilty of killing somebody while you were trying to do a citizen's arrest, which I think is a flippin' joke anyway, then yeah, okay. 2 counts of aggravated assault. Why are there 2 counts of aggravated assault? I'm not trying to say, like, lesser his sentence, but...
Assault is not battery, so the assault is prior to the shooting.
Okay. How do you get 4 counts of felony murder, though? If you only murdered one person?
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with your idea. I get that you can add the assault charge as well as the higher charge of murder. Assault and battery are separate charges.
Yes.
You hear them go hand in hand.
Yes.
So
that's what
I get that, but the multiple counts seems pretty odd given that they killed 1 guy.
Yeah.
Are you sure this wasn't the charges for the group? No, because there's still 4 counts, and there's 3 guys. So
I am 100% sure.
Okay, my bad.
So his father, Gregory Michael, he was not guilty of the malice murder, but he still got 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of false imprisonment, and 1 count of criminal attempt to commit a felony.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third guy, William Boyan Jr. I don't know if I'm saying that right or wrote it down right, but he filmed everything. He was guilty on 3 counts of felony murder, 1 count of aggravated assault, a count of false imprisonment, and 1 count of criminal attempt to commit a felony.
So the guy that filmed this and did nothing else was convicted of murder?
Because he
filmed
he was a
participant.
And did nothing else.
Okay.
He could have been like, look, dude, like, I don't, like...
Yeah, alright.
What they were saying he did was he went into... They thought he was trying to steal...
He trespassed into a home under construction.
Yes. I've done that.
Yes. I'm gonna save my opinion until you're done talking to your part.
Okay. So their reason for running him down, like just chasing him, trying to talk to him at least, was he went into a house that was still under construction. I doubt it had like the flooring, like the carpeting or the hardwoods done.
Yeah, it did have doors though. He went in through the garage.
Okay, they leave. So
my point being that it's not like the frame still.
Yeah. So there's definitely nobody living there.
Mm-hmm.
So even castle doctrine at that point
doesn't apply.
Would not apply. Had he stolen something that he was then able to run away with in jeans and Timberland boots and whatever shirt he was wearing would not have been big enough
unless it would have been over a certain value.
Would not have been valuable enough to warrant taking a man's life.
Unless he literally stole a gold bar, and then legally speaking it would be a felony theft and therefore square.
Oh, yeah. What? Who's going to leave a...
That would be absurd. I'm just saying there is a context in which this is possible, but...
I've been around construction of new homes. There are people who do, dip through and take, little shit here and there.
Yeah, you've worked very heavily around construction of new homes.
There is nothing that anybody would leave inside the home after they're done working on it, like the end of the workday, definitely over the weekend, that they couldn't go to Home Depot and replace for, $15-$20 tops.
And probably factor into the cost of the job.
Yes. So the reason I don't know about all the legal stuff on all the different counts of murder when they only murdered one guy. I don't know how all of that actually works, but I do agree with the guilty verdict.
Maybe not on 4 counts, but at least 1 of each.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, here's what this case hinges on for me. And I'm going to preface this before I say what it hinges on. I don't think that Amaud Arbery was just jogging through the neighborhood.
Probably
I don't.
not.
He was 12 miles from his home. He was not dressed in what you would expect someone to be jogging in. And he had a rap sheet. That said, you cannot convict someone because they look suspicious. And you cannot perform a citizen's arrest unless you have direct, for sure knowledge, and you better be squared away because it's going to come up, that they have committed a felony. A felony. At least in the state that they were in. I looked into this a little bit. They definitely failed to prove any of that. And that means they could not have known that when they went after him that night. And that, to me, is what this case hinges on.
Mm-hmm.
He grabbed for their gun. If they were justified in the citizen's arrest, then when he grabs for the gun, I would say that they are justified in shooting him. However, the unlawful detainment, once that charge is granted, all of the rest of the charges come with it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because you unlawfully detained him, and then he understandably tried to stop you from doing so. And then you killed him for it. And that... They might have been right about what he was there to do, but they had no proof that he had done anything, nor had he done anything in that instance, and you cannot kill a man for something he has not yet done, or you cannot prove he has done. That is not how things work.
Yep.
And that's... So, yeah, as much as I... This is another scenario where I don't like what Amaud Arbery was doing because I think it was suspicious and he was probably up to something. But I do not in any circumstance think that it warrants anything that the men in this case did. And therefore, I agree with their guilty verdict. And I don't like saying that because initially on watching it I was like, yeah, this seems suspicious. I think they're going to get away with shooting this guy. But the more I learned about this case, the more I was like, nope. No, this is, they jumped the gun, this was too far, too much, and yeah, they committed this crime. So.
Being he was 12 miles from his home, he could have been a block away from his home.
People do jog 12 miles.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I dated a girl that jogged 13 a day. She was insane. I kind of wish somebody would have shot her, but...
Cameron Haynes, what's a marathon?
A marathon is 26 miles, 26.2.
He does that every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's like ridiculous. No.
So if he were to turn around at his halfway point, he would be 13 miles from his home.
Yeah, which I think is exactly what he does.
Yeah, so, but, like, it is possible. I'm not saying for sure that Amaud Arbery wasn't jogging. I'm just saying that given the other circumstances, I doubt it. Given the other things he was up to, his rap sheet, things like this, I doubt it.
And then what they could have done was, instead of trying to stop him and detain him at gunpoint, was they could have just followed him. They were in a pickup.
Just follow him and call the police.
Yeah, like, hey, I think this guy was just come out of this house. He said he was just jogging, but he come out of this house that's under construction. I don't know if he was stealing something or trying to steal something or whatever. He's suspicious. We are following him. He is on foot.
Yeah, and he didn't commit a crime that day, right? But if you do that, there is then a record, and if he commits a crime later, like they must have thought he was going to do, you have the documented record of the suspicion in the first place to then further his conviction later. But yeah, no, this was too far on their end, by a long shot. They had nothing to go on. They had loose circumstantial suspicions at best. And you don't get to kill a man on that. You don't get to even illegally detain a man on that. So.
Even detaining somebody when you're not, actually law enforcement, even if you were, in the legal rights, that's still going to be a sketchy battle.
Yeah,
it's like,
citizens' arrests can be rocky for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I'm not totally against them is, ideally, and this is not the world we live in, so I'm not actually calling for this, I'd rather have no cops and citizens just arrest people when they commit heinous crimes.
Yeah.
But we do not live in a world where that's actually functionally possible. And libertarians are now going to come for me and try to lynch me later. But
which is what we're arguing.
Libertarians. Yeah. You violated your own non-aggression principle. Good job, homie. That said, there are places in the country, like Linwood, that do not have their own police, and therefore the citizens kind of have to help police their own community. And so you can't totally rule out the idea of the citizen's arrest either.
Mm.
And that's the frustrating gray area we fall in. That said, also, I don't think this community fell in that.
I don't think so either.
I don't believe so.
And with modern technology, even if dude was doing something bad, he wasn't doing anything, he definitely wasn't doing anything to warrant getting killed. He physically could not have had. If
he took things out of an empty under construction home, I still don't think he deserves to die.
He stole a box to nail that cost $73 at Walmart at the time. It's probably like $1 million now, so now I guess maybe.
He was actually just stealing 2x4s.
That's not his penis.
Yeah. Turns out it did eclipse the value of felony because one 2x4 is like $1,000.
But yeah. Even,
joking aside.
Yeah. Even if he had, the most expensive tool I can think of, off the top of my head, that
he could have physically carried.
He would not have been able to hide it in his pants to where they would have been like, hey, what was he doing in there? Let's go find out or whatever. Yeah. It would have been like, hey, I've got this table saw that's I duct taped a bunch of other tools to.
Yeah.
What is felony theft in Kansas? It's over $500, isn't it?
I think it's more, actually, but I'm not sure. I didn't look it up.
Okay, so $500 is low. You can buy, I don't care what kind of table saw you got, if it's small enough that you can take it to a job site real quick and slap it up, it's under $500.
I know, for example, it's at least $1,000 in California because anything under $1,000 in theft is going to be decriminalized, and that's why stores are closing there.
Okay, so yeah, he
over $1,000 here.
He physically could not have carried $1,000 worth of stuff in his pants or under his shirt. So what? Maybe he did steal something. It's not going to be worth anything. It's not going to be worth your gas pursuing the person.
Actually, in Kansas, over 1,000 is a level 9 felony, but over 100 is a level 5 felony.
it's
therefore technically allowing the citizen's arrest.
Okay, so maybe he took a Milwaukee drill.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to hide that on you. Like, that's something you're going to carry in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, point being, he didn't.
Yeah. He didn't. Maybe he was scoping out the place for later, but he didn't do anything wrong there.
Yep, and you can't do that then. So
the only thing I guess I would say that I don't understand, I don't necessarily disagree with, but was how do you charge somebody for multiple counts of murder when it was only one person?
Yeah.
But
unless there are some states where if you get first-degree murder, you also get second and third.
Okay.
So that I could understand, but that's not the case here. You read off the charges. That's not how they laid out at all.
No.
So anyway, any more on that story?
Nope. Just that a couple of hunks of shit are going to prison, and hopefully his Mr. Arbery's family will get some kind of closure from it. I doubt they will, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I will add, though, that
I don't know that I would go so far as to call them hunks of shit, but I would say that they were overzealous and therefore they made a very critical mistake that was very wrong of them.
Yeah.
They could have been overzealous, could have been. The events would suggest possibly otherwise. I don't see this necessarily being racially motivated.
No.
Maybe they thought it was because it was a black guy. But, yeah. I'm not trying to look upon them favorably. I'm just trying to allow for, like... I'm giving Amaud Arbery a lot of the benefit of the doubt here. I'm also going to give them a decent amount of benefit of the doubt. But, even with that benefit of the doubt, they went way too far. And so, yeah, they deserve their conviction.
I'll agree with you on that. Guess that's it.
Okay. A lot of people aren't going to like that take from us, probably. I don't care.
I'm trying not to... You were saying you were trying not to cuss.
I don't care if you cuss.
I was just trying to...
I'm the dude that goes to church. That's got very little to do with why I'm trying to cuss less. I've sworn more in front of my kids lately, and therefore I'm trying to swear less altogether in hopes that I don't slip up and swear in front of my kids.
Gotcha. Well, if you're trying to, then I actively also try to. Maybe I can help you.
Yeah, I'm not sure the square or circle on Christian swearing. I've got other sins I need to overcome before I get there anyway. So,
I mean, on that, if you're going to tell me that a guy who was turning water into wine didn't say fuck every now and again.
He was supposedly a perfect human being, so, so maybe not.
I don't care how perfect you are, you're shoving nails through my hands and feet. I'm saying fuck a bunch.
Fuck you! Your cow! Anyway.
I got Eddie Murphy as the dragon singing.
Yeah. Good, I'm glad you followed where I was going. So our last story today is kind of a funny story, and this pertains to the more whiskey and cigar themes that come laden in our channel. Heaven Hill has called for people to stop toasting Kyle Rittenhouse with their Rittenhouse rye whiskey. They quickly figured out on Twitter that a lot of people were toasting the Rittenhouse verdict by doing shots of Rittenhouse rye and taking pictures with Rittenhouse rye and all this stuff. And so they released a statement saying, we have been disheartened to learn that some individuals and businesses have been using our Rittenhouse straight rye whiskey to celebrate the Kyle Rittenhouse case verdict despite the profound loss of life for those events. There's no link between the Rittenhouse rye brand, started post-prohibition to commemorate Rittenhouse Square, you can find this in our review as well, in this case. It is our strongly held belief that in matters such as this, where lives are lost and people are deeply affected, that there is no cause for celebration. Instead, deep reflection on how we can make the world a more peaceful place for all. Cute, also bullshit. I'm gonna lay out my quick thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
This statement was them pulling the initial Black Rifle Coffee statement, where they were trying to say that they were distancing themselves from the event in general. Mm-hmm. And it's true, the Rittenhouse Riot isn't associated with Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't think anybody thought it was. It's been around for decades.
Yeah. Well before we were alive, let alone Kyle.
It is good. You should try it.
Definitely.
I was not going to go out and give a company money to do something with their product they didn't like, because at the end of the story they win in that scenario. I will say I'm a little disappointed in Heaven Hill, because they could have literally just shut the hell up and said nothing.
Yeah.
No matter how they felt about this verdict. Anybody that spent any time watching this trial or watching the video should understand that this was clear-cut self-defense, but even if you don't agree with that, you could have just shut the hell up and not alienated people that drink your whiskey. And it's pretty just disingenuous to say that you highly value life and you want to throw a fit when you produce whiskey, because more fights happen around whiskey than not around whiskey, if we're being honest. More lives are lost due to alcohol than not. If you really cared that much, you would not be making whiskey. I say that in full understanding that they are not responsible for drunk drivers and things like that. I get that. But if it really was an issue for you, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. The only thoughts I had on that was to actually bring up the Black Rifle coffee thing that you already did.
Sorry. Yeah, and then Black Rifle doubled down and were like, we will pay you to leave our brand if you like Kyle Rittenhouse. So if you still drink Black Rifle coffee and you support the right to defend yourself in the U.S., you probably shouldn't. So I don't know who their customer base is now, but it should be virtually no one except maybe Brovets. And I say this as a guy who, generally speaking, likes Matt Best.
Yeah. Like, if God was playing favorites, he definitely got it.
Fair point. He's also not their CEO, and that bears mentioning. When people talk about Black Rifle CEO, those decisions are mostly made by a guy named, I think, Evan Schaefer. Evan something. And he's a douche. 100%. He also tends to donate to a lot of anti-gun Democrats, whatever. But that's not my issue with them. My issue with them is their position on the Rittenhouse case, even after the trial.
Yeah.
But the paying people to leave their brand for supporting the right to defend themselves, yeah, you can go straight to hell on that deal.
I think I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall at that meeting. Like if there are two people I mostly associate with Black Rifle Coffee, and that would be Matt Best, and then Omar Avila, Crispy 11B on.
And Crispy's a good dude.
Yeah.
Despite my problems with the others, Crispy's a good dude.
I would like to have been like a fly on the wall when they were discussing all of that with those two guys.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of people still peddling Black Rifle Coffee that were very happy about the Rittenhouse verdict, Mike the Cop included.
Yeah.
I've also seen a lot of people that have stopped carrying them over this and stopped accepting their endorsements and things like that, which has cost them money to tell these guys to go F themselves. And I strongly suggest you stop buying their coffee. You know who else does things for veterans? Actually probably has done more dollar for dollar for veterans, and I don't like saying this because I don't like this company either. Starbucks.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Starbucks has a veteran hire program.
Oh, okay.
They've done a lot for veterans and veterans charities. Black Rifle Coffee has too, to be fair.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna talk about companies that don't support the right to defend yourself, at least Starbucks is upfront about that.
Yeah.
And I respect a liar less. And that's how I feel that Black Rifle Coffee as a company has acted in this scenario. I don't know how we ended up on Black Rifle Coffee from Heaven Hill, but they're much more of an example of this problem than Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
But I do think Heaven Hill are kind of bitches for doing this. And I think if you have Rittenhouse Rye already, you should definitely post it and tag them on Twitter that you're toasting that for.
Hashtag 4 doors, more whores.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I don't mourn the loss of life either. We had a pedophile and I believe a woman beater that were killed, and another guy lost his bicep that also was a piece of crap. So, I'm not sad about any of those.
Back on the drinking and driving thing, 6 weeks after he lost his bicep, he was arrested for a driving under intoxication. Yeah, DUI.
Yep.
So,
DUI stands for driving under the influence. DWI is driving while intoxicated.
My bad.
Not that big a deal. It means the same thing.
Yeah, I've never had either one. So
somebody told me that once. I was getting a shot at a bar, and he ordered me a shot, and I was like, "Hey man, I don't have one of those fancy things you have." And what I was saying was I didn't have a wristband to be able to drink because I wasn't 21. And this man looked at me and said, "What, a DUI?" So.
Fair enough. Kind of a fancy charge. Still kind of an unfancy charge, but whatever.
But that's all we have for you this week, unless you have more.
I do not.
Yeah. Heaven Hill, I'm disappointed in you. People are still gonna buy your whiskey, but I'm disappointed.
I mean, that Rittenhouse Rye is pretty damn good, though. So
it is, and there are other Heaven Hill products I greatly enjoy.
Yep.
And to be fair, this isn't on a level where I'm probably gonna boycott their whiskey, but I do think they should be called out, and that's why we're doing that. Plus, it kind of ties in with the theme of the channel. We can't not talk about it.
Oh yeah.
So. This may be a news-based podcast, but we are whiskey and cigar guys first in this channel's context. So.
Alec Bradley come out and start talking shit. Motherfucker!
There were some cigar companies that were anti-Trump, some Cuban ones especially, but, screw commies. However, Gurkha came out pro-Trump, so. If we're gonna play this game, I'll back my horse. Anyway, till we see you again, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Roadmen.